Hi, this is Nick Orton for the Think Big podcast. I'm here this evening with Kris Gethin. You can say hello, Kris?
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, it's all right, thanks. We've just actually finished a back workout. We're at Ultimate Fitness in Birmingham. So he's absolutely beasted me on the weights. Well, I didn't really beast you at all, did I?
Oh no, I feel quite fatigued.
Oh, good.
I beasted myself.
You beasted yourself. Well, that's good then. Now, what are you doing in Birmingham? Because I do believe you reside in Mumbai, India.
Yes, in Mumbai, but I've come back over to the UK because my sister just gave birth. Plus, I'm doing some filming for BodyPower TV and did a DTP lecture and a public seminar as well over here whilst taking advantage of the couple of weeks. And got Ollie Upton's wedding in a couple of days' time.
Yes, which I'm best man at.
Yeah, good luck. I can't wait to get you drunk at that one.
I don't need to be drunk. You should hear what I'm going to say. He's not going to be inviting me back, that's for sure. Right, okay, so the idea of the podcast is that we talk a little bit about business, actually, and what I'm interested in, because you are a fairly successful trainer, if you don't mind me saying so, with over 74 million downloads of your 12-week trainer video. That would make you officially the world's #1 trainer, I do believe.
Officially, that would say, like on paper or whatever, yeah, for sure, but it's not something that I'd regard myself by any means. You know, what I really love about this industry is there's a constant learning process.
Okay, so what I want to get to, you've been very modest there, but I want to find out a little bit about your background and how you've come to be in the position of having so many people interested in what you do.
Okay. Well, my background is obviously from Wales originally, up until the age of, was it 25 or so. I was really into motocross, and then, I suffered injury, so then I tried pretty much every treatment available. The only thing that helped my back problems that I had due to injuries of motocross was weight training, rehab, and that's how I got hooked into it, and then I decided to go and educate myself full-time for several years at college to become an international health and sports therapist. And from there I went and worked on cruise liners, went and worked in Australia, had a mobile personal training business and a fitness centre over there.
Okay, so you had a mobile personal training business. What made you think, right, I want to achieve X, I want to go on and develop myself? Was there something inside you that said, right, I want to do more?
Well, I wanted to completely mirror image the life that I was leading in Wales at that time. That life was partying, alcohol, drugs.
Sheep.
Yeah, a lot of sheep, but I couldn't really kick that habit. They are very comforting. And so I just wanted to separate myself from that social network. In this day and age, it's great that we have Facebook, we have Body Space and stuff like that. Back then we never had that. And within the town that I was living in, there was no social network that I could hook myself to live the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to separate myself from. So I had to really burn some bridges, i.e. leave Wales and go and work on cruise liners and do something opposite to what I was doing.
What made you choose cruise liners though?
Because number one, it was a ticket of me to get out of Wales, and number two, it allowed me to do something that I really enjoyed, and at that time it was massage therapy and personal training, and that's exactly what I was doing on the cruise liners. I was a massage therapist, I was an inothermist as well, so I was working with thoracic and electrical treatments and personal training. I kind of separated myself from personal training after a while because I was working throughout the Caribbean and I was getting a lot of US clients and they like to tip massage therapists more. So I went over to massage therapy more.
Okay, and then and how did you develop from that point then?
From that point,
because when did you start working for bodybuilding.com?
Oh, many years later.
Okay.
Many
so
years.
What was
so
between?
This is back in like '99.
You're old, aren't you?
I am bloody old. Yeah, I just look great. This is back in late '90s, and then I went and worked in Australia for 5 years. Starting off, I had a mobile personal training business. So I tried to hook myself into the corporate world. So I was working for companies and like Vodafone and stuff like that, where I was going to hotels and training them, or I was individually training people on beaches, parks, which allowed me to live the lifestyle. I loved surfing. So I was surfing in between clients and stuff like that, and doing what I loved, and that was like really helping people transform. And it was, I wasn't working for anybody. I'm not very good at working under the man. I'm a very individual person. I was never a team player. That's why I raced motocross.
Rumour has it you actually like working under a man.
Under a man, yeah, Sheila Bruce. That's why I went to Australia in search of her.
Just explain then. So you were enjoying the personal training, but what was the next move then? How did you get into your editorial role?
Okay, well, I was helping people one-on-one. And then I decided I wanted to reach out to more people. How could I do that? Like I said, internet wasn't as prevalent. Well, for me it wasn't. I loved publication. I used to read bodybuilding magazines before I was even into bodybuilding. That was my comic book, if you like. And I wanted to actually try to reach out to more people. I was no writer though, so I thought, shit, I'm going to have to educate myself to be a writer. I'm not an educated person at all, really. I wasn't very good at school. I got a bit of an ADD problem, and again, like I said, I'm not very good at people giving me orders, so if I was given orders, I'd kind of shut off and repent. So then this was under my own motivation that I wanted to reach out to more people, so I decided to write for some publications. I kind of started reading a lot, learning about how other people wrote for journalistic purposes, and then as I started doing it more and more and more, I started getting better, and started having more articles published in magazines pretty much worldwide. Then as I enjoyed this and getting a lot more feedback from it, I thought, I want to do this full time. So I started pushing a lot of my articles towards the US, because that's where the hub of it was. And then as I was getting better feedback, I decided to really take a risk. And that risk was to pack up my fitness center that I had in Australia with the money that I'd saved, was to risk everything and move to Venice, California, in the hope that I'd get a job as a writer.
I mean, that's interesting. So, that does sound like a massive risk, because you moving to a different country, you gave up everything that you'd been working for. What was that decision like?
The decision, I like taking risks because I'm like nothing ventured, nothing gained, and I'm a very all or nothing character. And the thing is, when I opened my fitness center, I was under the understanding that, okay, the more successful I will get here, the more I will delegate tasks out. But it didn't work out that way. I ended up working more hours. So I was taking on my first client at 5 o'clock in the morning, last one at 9 o'clock at night. So I was living no life. So again, I was like, I have to separate myself from this. I'm not going to delegate tasks out. So I'm really going to put all my eggs into the basket of writing.
I'm sure there are a lot of personal trainers that will be listening to this thinking, I'm in the same boat. They're working long hours with clients from right in the morning till right in the evening.
Yeah, and that's fine for some people. But the thing is, I get bored very easy. And if I'm getting bored easy, I'm not going to be able to give that person who's paying me good money 110%. So I'm selling them short, and I'm cheating myself as well. So I decide, well, I don't want to be that kind of person, so I needed to try something else. We only have one life, so we have to take risks. Otherwise, you're just going to grow old and grey and go, I wish I did this, I wish I did that.
But was it a calculated risk? Because it sounds like you'd done quite a bit of research, or you taught yourself about the editorial role and the writing, so you'd minimised the risk to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I continued to minimise those risks as I kept teaching myself. So then when I went to the US, I figured, okay, I can sell articles better if I have images to accompany, because normally you would have to hook up with a photographer and say, can you shoot this athlete that I'm interviewing, so then I could submit. So I decided to buy myself some very good equipment back then, a 20D Canon camera with the lenses, with all the mod cons, and teach myself photography. So then what I would do is contact an athlete or whatever, shoot that athlete, and then write about the workout or the interview or whatever it may be, put it into a nice little neat package, and then present that at the time to Weeder Publications, Peter McGough there. And I kind of kept annoying him for about 6 months until I got two contracts with Reader Publications, one as a photographer and one as a writer. So then I was secure. I was able to live in California.
So that's fascinating. So basically you self-taught yourself writing, you self-taught yourself photography, and you used that self-taught knowledge to push yourself forward.
Yeah. But I'm far from a very good photographer. Thankfully today cameras are very good, which they do a lot for you. But with physique photography, you do have to have an eye. And because my background is bodybuilding and physiques, I know the angles that will make somebody look better. You morph the physique in the correct way, that enhances that physique. It's going to present itself better.
Yeah. And then how did you then move to bodybuilding.com?
Well, there's a gap between there as well. So during this time I was competing.
Yeah.
I needed to set myself goals physically if I wanted to make goals professionally come to light. So I found that every time I went through a transformation and I was using competition as my goal to transform, my form of accountability, I was finding that I was educating myself better within professional means. So I was focusing on competition a lot. And I kind of stepped away from Reader Publications for a little while because I didn't really like being told how to edit my content or how to shoot content or anything like that. I didn't like the fake tans, the fake spray, the fake weights, and the fake expressions on the face and stuff like that. So I decided to publish my own publication for 2 years called Caged Muscle. So that was a physical and online publication.
Because I've always thought that was something to do with your bondage fetish.
No, that was a sideline.
That's a sideline,
that
right.
Private. That wasn't public.
Okay.
Only the publication was public. And so,
sorry, was that a paper publication?
It was both. It was online for 2 years, publication, paper for 1 year.
Right, okay. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
So why did you stop doing that?
Because I then got the offer from Ryan DeLuca at bodybuilding.com. So during this time, I was freelancing for other publications, including bodybuilding.com. So they would often send me to competitions because I was a photographer and a writer. So I could give them both things. Within minutes of prejudging being finished, they had a bunch of pictures on their site and a review of prejudging a final. So obviously they were getting 2 bangs for their buck with me. They didn't have to send a photographer and writer, so they would send me to competition. And then
but how did you get that position though?
Well, I was writing a lot of articles as well, not just on competition, but on training pieces, interviews, or on nutrition, etc. And then Ryan DeLuca just gave me a call and said, look, I've got a position for the editor-in-chief. Would you like to come to Idaho so we can interview you and see if this is something you're interested in?
But like, you make that sound very easy, like, he just called you up one day and said, do you want to have this job? And there's an awful lot of people who'd want to work for bodybuilding.com, and indeed an awful lot of people who want to get into the position of writing articles. What advice would you give those people on how to put yourself out there and get the opportunity in the first place?
Well, with my articles, like, I always look at anything, whether it be car magazines, whether it be bodybuilding magazines or anything, and I always look for something in that article that's going to keep me captivated. What is going to keep me from reading from top to bottom? And if it isn't something that I'm really interested in or something that I'm going to get bored in, I need humor. Humor will keep my brain activated. So for instance, if I look at Peter McGough's articles, it was very humorous. If I looked at Jeremy Clarkson, it's humorous. Even though I'm not really into cars that much, I will always read his content. So I always plugged in a little bit of humor into my content. If it wasn't, I would always think, okay, I need to put inspiration in here, I need to put education in here, and I need to put some humor within it as well to captivate that reader. And that's what I'd always put in there.
So effectively what you're saying is you made yourself stand out.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It'd have to be something that I'd read and kind of laugh at or whatever, and just put some. I think dry British humour kind of worked. Yeah. And you see it in Alec Mack's writing and Peter McGough's. I just love that kind of content. So that's something that I kind of nicked off them and try to put it out there too.
Okay, but and how do people get in front of? How do you get noticed, really?
Well, you have to, like I said, I educated myself. It's something I was passionate about. I'm quick to assert and admit that I'm somebody that I don't feel that I can excel at one thing at all. So I like, and I've got ADD. I think I do have a form of ADD where I get bored of stuff. So collectively, I think, okay, maybe I can excel if I collectively put all these things together.
Yeah.
So I will try my hand at bodybuilding. I'll try my hand at judging. I'll try my hand at writing, photography, or whatever, and I'll try to put them all together, because then I know I can give 110% passion into that one thing. If I just do one thing and one thing only, I'll get bored and maybe only put 60% in. So I say, if you're one of those people that's going to get bored or whatever at that one thing, or you feel that it's going that way, collectively try to put yourself into, your fingers into a lot of pies, and you'll find that you'll be able to put 110% into those things, because every time that you go back to it, you feel more passionate about it. If you're reading one book, you can quickly get bored with it, but if you're reading like 3 books and keep going in between them, one and one, you're more, you're going to be more assertive to what you're reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so can I just fast forward a little bit? You've joined bodybuilding.com. You joined as editor-in-chief,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
So you had what, 300 odd writers under you, was it?
Yeah, at that time there was like 300 writers. There's over 500 now, and there was only like 25 of us working at the office there, if that. And now you're looking at like 500 people at bodybuilding.com.
And they've had amazing growth.
Yeah, it's coincidence after I joined.
It's all down to you.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, what happened then? Because you were with them for, a couple of years?
No, I'm still with them now. But in the office there, I was there for 3 years.
Okay. And then what happened when you left your office role with bodybuilding.com?
Well, basically, that was it was more of a transition, because I was so used to, being behind the screen. So I was always interviewing athletes. I was always working with the bloggers, the writers, the photographers, or whatever. I was never in front of it. And, I really, really enjoyed the cultural force of bodybuilding.com. Everybody is working there for the right reasons, and that's helping people achieve their health, fitness, and appearance goals. And Ryan DeLuca is fantastic. He's a genius, and he's so passionate about the user at the end of the day. And he really wanted to push me, because I was into body. I'm like one of the, I was like the only competitive bodybuilder at bodybuilding.com. So he was pushing me to be in front of the camera, and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. I was like, please, Ryan, don't do this again. But he kept pushing me. And, so eventually I was putting out more video series myself, and, getting pushed to be at events, not so much providing the content, but actually being in front of the content, if that makes sense. And so in hindsight, I really, really thank him. But at the time, I absolutely hated every minute of it. Because I didn't really like being in front of the camera, I was very uncomfortable. I'm still a little bit insecure about myself now. But I'm much, much, much better than what I was. Because I can do public speaking now. I could never, ever dream of doing that.
And at the time, did you look normal?
Look normal? What's normal?
Well...
No, I've never looked normal. Like at one point, before I went to work on cruise liners, I remember when I went for the interview, I took out all my piercings, and I had a handful of them. When they said, "You've got the job," I was like, "Okay, I can't put these back in." So I'm kind of look quite normal now.
So how many piercings have you got? Do you know?
I mean,
you're covered in little balls and piercings and rings, and
I've got probably about 8 visual ones.
Yeah, I don't want to know about the non-visual ones.
Okay.
And what about your tattoos then? Because I mean, you since I've known you, you've increased the amount of tattoos. You've got one arm's clear, isn't it? You're going to keep that arm completely clear of tattoos, and as your back's completely covered in tattoos. And this arm, your left arm, is now fairly covered in tattoos. There's a style of tattoo that you go for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called polka trash. So it's more of a statement as opposed to artistic. It doesn't mean anything. Like people say, "Hey, what's that tattoo mean?" It doesn't mean anything. It's like saying, "What does that necklace mean?" To some, it doesn't mean anything. And to me, it's just a visual concept I like.
So you purely, they're not symptomatic of anything other than you just particularly like the design.
Yeah, that's right. The back was, funnily enough, I remember speaking to Ryan DeLuca when I was competing, and I told him I was thinking about competing a bit more, which would require me to get a lot bigger. And he's like, in all honesty, I wouldn't if I were you. I'd just focus on doing what you're doing with the videos and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I will probably continue until my dying years competing. So you know what? I'll tattoo my back, and I know the judges will mark me down for that. So that's what I did. I covered my back to stop me from competing again. And it's worked. I haven't competed since.
And what about your hair then? In fact, your hair now is normal colour. But I mean, you've been red, you've been blue,
But I've been like that
have you
since
been
a
yellow?
teenager.
I'm not sure whether you've done yellow.
Only.
Have you?
Yeah, but not on purpose because the bleach didn't set. But I've dyed my hair since I was a teenager, so it's just a part of me. It's just
But it's interesting though, because again, it makes you stand out. So when you're doing things in the public eye, obviously you're quite memorable to people because you do stand out.
Yeah, I don't do it to stand out, to be honest with you. I do it because self-satisfaction. And I guess I don't know.
I'm just wondering if you would advise people to do something that makes them stand out, because if they want to get the limelight, if they want to be recognised, if one of their aims is to, be better known as an athlete or a trainer, maybe they need to do something like that.
Yeah, of course they need to do something that'll make them stand out, but I'm not saying that you have to do it visually. You can do it professionally. You can, whatever your niche is, that you feel that you're going to have a stranglehold on, that's going to allow you to excel over other people or get noticed for the right reasons, then do it. I'd say, if anything, these could possibly hold me back, these tattoos. Having my hand tattooed, and, only several weeks ago, I was doing a savoir-faire sort of seminar in front of people, corporates and people that, very elegant people, and maybe this can kind of intimidate some people. Maybe it could hold me back. But I don't think like that. I just think I do it purposely for myself, selfishly for myself. Makes me feel good, so why wouldn't I do it,
Yeah, okay. And so can I just jump back then to, you're obviously doing your editor-in-chief role. You left that to pursue what?
Well, I left that. Well, basically, I was working more now with video content and stuff like that. And then from there, from bodybuilding.com, I'd just written a book called Body by Design, and some guy in India called Riddick Roshan had read it, and he wanted to transform. So then he gave me a call and asked me if I'd go over there and speak to him and consider it.
Just to interrupt, what made you write the book?
Again, this is Ryan DeLuca's idea along with me, to put out a book that would allow an insight on what was a tipping point that helped people go from A to B. What made somebody that was like an anorexic become a world champion eater? What made somebody who was a complete nerd in school getting bullied to be now a fitness evangelist? And we had all these profiles on BodySpace, which is on bodybuilding.com, a free social network for fitness enthusiasts. So we had thousands upon thousands of people we were able to study. So over a couple of years, we studied all these individuals and found out exactly what that tipping point was. It a specific nutrition plan that they were following, a training principle, or whatever. And we found that it was several pillars of power that we call, and that was basically burning bridges, building upon new ones, creating a form of accountability, and being transparent with your goals. And that's what we actually wanted to put into a book then, for people to understand that the motivation behind something is much more powerful than the education. All books on shelves are useless without motivation behind it. So that was the passion behind the book.
Okay, but because of the book, Hrithik Roshan had read the book, which is phenomenal, and he contacted you, and so you went over there to train him. Correct.
Yeah, and remember, I hadn't personal trained for years. Only through a means of the videos, the books, the articles, etc. But thankfully, bodybuilding.com, being as fantastic as they are, allowed me to go over as long as I could continue my work. And wherever I have a computer, I can continue my work. So that's exactly what I did, and continued to fly back to the US, do some videos, and appear at events such as BodyPower, Olympia, etc. And so, I went over to India, trained Riddick. He went through an amazing transformation. He is an easy client to transform. He's very attuned to his body. And that made mainstream headlines over there. So then other actors and other people wanted to transform too. But I'm only one person, and I was working exclusively with Riddick. So then we started to bring in other trainers through Physique Elite, the company that we formed over there for personal trainers. And so we've been there building and growing through various means ever since.
Okay, and just for those people that are listening that don't know who Hrithik Roshan is, he's a major superstar, Bollywood superstar in India, and obviously extremely well known.
Yeah, and he's extremely well known over here. I was just in Nottingham last night, and we was at a cinema there, and Kris, his new movie, is up there everywhere.
So would you say that was your big break?
No, I wouldn't say it's a big break at all. A big break into India. Yes. Right. Big break into India. I was, continue to grow overseas, and maybe, stuff has kind of slowed down in the US now because I've been putting so much time and effort into India. I don't know. But, that is definitely where we saw a void. Obviously there's a lot of education within the US and the UK and other countries, but not as much motivation. In India, we found a lot of motivation. They just need educated. So it's like, hey, you know what? Let's stay here and let's help these people. Become like more of a nation of transformation. Because the education there for fitness enthusiasts is abysmal. So that's exactly what we want to feed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I'm going to bring the interview to an end right now. But can I just ask you one thing? What is the message that you would give to fitness professionals or anyone that's involved in fitness for them to develop themselves?
I'd say don't focus on one thing. Focus on many other things within the fitness industry that can assist people reach their health, fitness, and appearance goals. So I did the book. I did videos, and I've actually put out a food line as well, Nutrition by Design, as you know, and working with other personal trainers to allow them to propel their careers or whatever. And because I feel that, if you are passionate about one thing, then spread yourself a little bit thinner in order to educate as many people as you possibly can. You have online activity now available to you. So train as many people or inspire as many people as you can through the education of the online platform, where you can reach out people in far away villages, towns, cities, of all walks of life. Just be consistent with your application.
Okay, well that's brilliant. Thanks very much for interviewing. I'm Nick Orton. This is Think Big Podcast.
Thank you.